Welcome to the GFY Podcast, a podcast by healthcare professionals providing insight on how to navigate your career so that you can go fix yourself. The GFY Podcast is hosted by Mike Bruno, a chiropractor and athletic trainer, and me, Michael Stant, an athletic trainer and certified strength conditioning specialist. Although we are healthcare providers, we are not your healthcare provider. We'll discuss general health interventions in this podcast, but you should not take that as health advice that works in every situation. Before doing anything on your own or making any lifestyle changes, please consult with your own physician. This podcast and views from this podcast are separate from our full-time jobs and our own opinions. If you're enjoying the GFY Podcast, please leave us a review on your listening platform and or subscribe to our podcast at YouTube. Links to our show can be found in the show notes on any platform that you're listening to. Today, special guest, Joey Scambia. I almost screwed it up. I thought about it. But yeah, Joey.
I can see is not silent.
Not silent. Fun fact. If you want to kind of give us a quick rundown, who you are, how you came to be, and we'll kind of go from there, kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. I'm Joey Scambia. I am a board certified specialist in sports physical therapy. I did my DPT at the University of Rhode Island in 2021, and then from there I went right into a sports physical therapy residency at Johns Hopkins in Maryland. And every year they send the residents down to IMG in Florida because there's a satellite Hopkins location down there. So I got to treat all the student athletes down at IMG for 3 months, went back to Maryland to finish out residency. And then luckily the timing worked out where I was able to wiggle my way back in as a staff PT down there. So I went back and was there for 3 years. Great experience starting my career, getting to work with a very elite level clientele, mainly like 12 to 20-year-olds. And then occasionally you get your, college and pro athletes in. So a really good spot to start my career in a multidisciplinary setting where it was full of PTs, ATs, strength, nutrition, psych. We had the whole staff under one roof. So it was nice to have that kind of collaborative setting where, I feel like it's still typically siloed in a lot of ways, where there's not much collaboration. And in my opinion, that really only harms the patient. So it was nice to grow in that setting. And now that's really like the only thing that I know is the collaborative piece of things. So fast forward, I relocated back to the Northeast in July, started my own solo practice, which kind of fell into my lap. That was not necessarily the plan. Started that in October. And then since then, just been kind of growing slow and steady. I'm in a big gym in Oceanport, New Jersey. So I have a pretty big demographic of people in that gym. It's a 2,500 member gym. So youth athletes all the way up to your older pickleballers, recreational lifters, and kind of everything in between. So that's kind of my wheelhouse right now, and continuing to learn all the ins and outs of the business side of things, which is a totally new beast to kind of tackle.
Yeah, quick. I want to, because we probably should have talked this before. While you're at Hopkins, because I'm in Baltimore right now. We work a couple of the PTs. Which location were you at?
I was in the White Marsh location.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Nate, do you know Nate there?
Oh yeah, Nate was my at the time he was the assistant residency director. Now he is officially the residency director of the program.
Yeah,
Nate's awesome.
Yeah, no, I've been dealing with a lot more, but I love the collaboration. And it's funny because I know Bruno's talked about as well. It's hey, try to deliver healthcare that pro athletes get, right? That college athletes get. And that's kind of what you got to do in that setting. So it's awesome to see. So you say you see a big range of people currently in the gym. Do you are you collaborating with the gym owner and all that, when you're working with people, or how's it kind of work up your setup?
Yeah, so it's actually been really nice because all the personal trainers are obviously in the gym with me. And I would say a good portion of my clients are still currently working with them in some capacity, whether it's their individualized one-on-one personal training or their group classes. So I have the luxury of obviously just walking over to that personal trainer, telling them what I found on evaluation, what my current thought process is, and how I'm going to game plan for them, and how we can kind of strategize the week. So I have, one client who does one-on-one personal training, twice a week. I fill in the gaps on the other days of the week and give him a lift day in between those days. So that way he's kind of getting everything that he needs without needing to see me X number of days a week or work with personal training 3 to 4 days a week. So it's actually worked out really well with that, filling in the gaps. And then for the people in the group classes, I've yet to pull anybody entirely out of any group class or any one-on-one personal training just because their clinical scenario didn't warrant it. So for the group classes, I'm pretty much just having them attend, and I'm programming just the modifications that they need for those specific lifts for their condition. So they're doing the whole class, just, let's say they're doing like, I don't know, dumbbell overhead press in there. Like I'm probably going to have them do an incline dumbbell press, and everybody else does the overhead press. So they're still participating. We're just changing some things subtly to where they can, get after it and mash a little bit, but not be hindered by what's going on physically.
I love that. With like I have a very similar kind of setup. So with the collaborating with the coaches, is that something you're teaching the client and then like they're kind of functioning independently with like the coach being the overseer, or is that like, hey, you're telling the coach and the coach is setting that up for the person?
Yeah, so I kind of go to the coach after I do the evaluation, just give them my thought process on like one, what I think is going on, two, what I think would be an appropriate structure for them.
Hmm.
And then they've done a really good job of kind of integrating that into whatever the client's current plan is. And then I have a big remote access piece. So like every one of my clients is always on like a training app. So their program is uploaded into, I use Everfit. So everything's uploaded in there. They can communicate with me, all the sets and reps and everything. So if, let's say they're not with me or the personal trainer that day and something happens, like they're communicating on how that particular day went. If a lift had pain or if they needed to modify an exercise, like we can talk about that like in the moment, even though they're not with me or the personal trainer in real time. So like that data is important for me and helpful for me because I can make any of those adjustments either in the moment during that day, or once I see them in person, like we can set up a little 3-way chit chat of me, them, and the personal trainer on, how can we kind of tackle this together and like strategize together.
Nice. There's so much good stuff that you do that you don't see in the typical, I'll call it like the typical PT world, right? Is this something that you've developed in your time at IMG? Because that was also a very, you know, high level type of environment, or is this kind of your own sauce?
No, this kind of developed just from being down there. Like after an evaluation of like a post-op kid, like I would immediately go to the athletic trainer because they were literally right across the hall
Yeah.
and be like, hey, this kid's gonna be with me, Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like on the other days, I definitely want him to come in with you. Like we're gonna focus on ABC. Like on those off days that they're not with me, can you do like XYZ? And like we would strategize a quick little game plan. They're like, yeah, absolutely. So like I could even see what they were doing when they weren't with me because it was just through a glass window. So like I could see what they were doing with the ATs. So it was nice because like we're 10 feet away from each other, and if anything popped up, like I could just literally walk right over, or they can walk over to me and we can just
Yeah.
modify the game plan, adjust on the fly. So it was really nice. So I'm pretty much used to that. And I almost pitch it in a way to the client, like a prospective client, like, hey, we have the luxury of being able to have myself and the trainers under one roof. So they know what's going on. I know what's going on. So that way nothing's really slipping through the cracks with your plan. Whereas in other areas, if you're driving to go to a clinic, I can guarantee you that the personal trainers at the gym I'm in are not calling your PT to ask what you're doing. That's just not realistic and it's not happening. So I feel like that's resonated well with them. Like, oh, this person actually cares and they actually are invested in knowing what I'm doing with the client, so that or the personal trainer. So that way, I have a well-rounded plan. So I feel like they're viewing it in a positive light, having all of us kind of collaborating together.
100%. With the so like to me, I know like we are very much on the same wavelength as far as like customization of protocols and programs and collaboration with other providers and stuff. We could both agree like that should be the standard, but we both know that it's not. So when people have, you can tell me if most of your clients have been to a typical PT or chiro beforehand and then come and find you after, or are you usually like their first experience with rehab? And then how do you have that conversation of like, hey, what we do is different and in a lot of ways like more unique than something else, like the big box generic
Mhm.
type PT?
Yeah, I've definitely had a couple of both. I know a couple of my first clients that I ever signed on had stuff that's been going on. And, I always try to ask on the discovery, like, what have you tried? What's been successful?
Yep.
What has that whole experience been like? And a couple were like, it was your typical, little bit of manual therapy, a little bit of stretching, and then really not much after that. So it's kind of like, you feel good for 20, 30 minutes and then symptoms are kind of coming back right away. And then another one like that typical, get to PT, hot pack, bike, ultrasound stim, a little bit of stretching, and then like you're on your way. So I remember taking one of them through like a session, and at the end, she was like, "Oh wow, this was like a workout." I'm like, "Yeah, like that's what it's supposed to be like." Like
It's
that's
crazy
what's-
that surprised me. Right?
It's
I was
it,
like,
like it scares me because I don't know, like me and Bruno went to undergrad together at University of Delaware in athletic training, and like I feel like we came out of that program knowing that like rehab is a workout, like you should be sweating stuff like that. But then like as we've gotten more out in the world and realize, oh, there's a lot of that not happening, especially for like general population people. Maybe not so much athletes, but it's more gen pop.
Dude, I had so like I don't know whose quote it is, but it's like rehab is the training in the presence of pain or something like that. And from like a conceptual standpoint, love the idea. I worked in a I worked in a multidisciplinary clinic as well. And from like you had a very awesome experience, mine was the opposite. Like no, even though we were like I was watching someone get treated by a physical therapist right before me, like they were doing a bunch of like random dumb stuff that wasn't helping them. And like I had to tell the patient, like, you're wasting your time in so many words.
Mhm.
But I had a woman who would come in, she'd do the hot pack, the cups, the ultrasound, the blah, blah, blah. And she'd see like three different providers and she'd get to me. And I was like, everyone within months of work from there were like, oh, he's the exercise guy. And she came over to me and like, I forget what she was, like Russian or something. So she had a funny accent, but she was like, I no do exercise. No. I was like, it's so like, it's like, but that's gonna get you better. Like this stuff is the other stuff is like, a temporary relief. Like it's not working. So like this is what's going to like get you feeling better. She was like, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't really necessarily have a problem with any of those things, but if that's the only thing your treatment is built around, like that's definitely not going to get you to where you need to be. Especially when thinking of like the forces that are required and intensities and velocities that are required for sport, like
Yeah.
sprinting, throwing, cutting, sometimes the ground reaction forces could be like 15 times plus somebody's body weight. Like
Yeah.
a manual therapy technique, like sure, it feels good, but that's not doing anything to prepare you to handle 15 times your body weight in ground reaction forces. If it could at least give you a window in time to feel a little bit better and then capitalize on it by getting out into the gym and doing stuff, like then I'm all for those interventions because they can like help supplement that. But if that's all you're doing, like that's not going to do anything for you physically to prepare your tissues to withstand whatever physical stress that you're going to be exposed to.
Yeah. Mikey always I always like mix up the analogies, but I'm like, oh, it opens the door.
Yep.
It gives you an
I
opportunity.
actually used the manipulation analogy. I'm like, when you've had your back cracked or you
Yeah.
crack something and it feels good a little bit, like that's the same premise here. Like I'm,
Yeah.
desensitizing your nervous system, bringing down like your irritability of symptoms, and then we're going to capitalize on that with ABC that we do in the gym. So I
Right.
try to use that like analogy fairly frequently, to be honest.
Oh, it's a great one. It's like the only thing I can compare it to is like, hey, imagine like getting in the car and like turning it on and then not going anywhere. Like you don't put it in drive.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of the same thing. It's like, hey, like the assumption is like, hey, when I get in the car, like I'm gonna make some forward progress. But you never like actually do any of the work that's going to make the changes that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think even with your model too, you talk about the online remote presence, right? Going back to another car analogy, I think Bruno said before is, it's like you want to bring your car to the shop, they fix it, and then you get to take it back. But with like we know with us that doesn't work, right? Like it needs to be you're doing something on your own at home, whether it is the exercises, whether it's some better habits that you got to work on, sleep, nutrition, whatever it is. So no, it's cool to see your model, how you're kind of working with it in the gym. So I don't think it's something that people think about. But I feel like your background with like, you've already done the communication with so many other people, and it just naturally fits with what you're doing.
Yeah, and I feel like I obviously had never had the remote side as part of my model because it was an insurance-based in-network setting down there. But I'm a huge fan of it because I can't tell you the amount of times that, people come to you 1 to 2 times a week. They do their stuff with you, and then, like, there's no touch points at all in between. You have no idea what the compliance is with the home stuff or the training program on their own. So, like, let's say they're not doing it, then they say PT doesn't work. Then you ask them, like, what have you been doing in between? Nothing. Like, okay, it's makes complete sense why PT
Yeah.
didn't work because nothing was actually followed. So, like, having that remote side of things, like, automatically adds in a huge accountability piece. So, like, if people aren't logging things in like a 48-hour period, like, I can be like, hey, are you sick? Is something going on? Are you traveling? Like, talk to me. Like, if you're
Yeah.
ghosting me, like, I don't know if things are good. I don't know if they're not good. I
All
don't
right.
know if you need things to be changed. So I almost tell them, like, the more you log and the more you communicate with me through the app on the non in-person days, like, the better it's going to help me strategize a good game plan for you. So it almost forces them into that accountability piece, to really stay on top of what's going on and log things and track their weights, track their sets and reps. So that way we can kind of strategize it together. So I found that the remote side to be huge buy-in from their end. Like, oh wow, like, I've never had an experience where, like, I can constantly communicate with my provider and, we're kind of game planning together, even if we're not together. So I'm a big proponent of that because it automatically adds in the accountability piece and kind of puts the onus on them to kind of take ownership of their own situation.
Yeah. And that's ultimately like what we want people to do. We want them to be able to take charge of their own health, right? Like we are a bridge to like teach them the skills and stuff. But like once they're competent and they're out of pain and they're able to achieve all the things that they want to achieve, like that is worth its weight in gold because they can take that and replicate it over the next 20 years or whatever.
Exactly. I actually just had a client leave a Google review yesterday saying that, like, she learned a ton about her body and, like, the program and the process that she now has, like, ways to handle this, like, if this comes up again. I'm like, "This is exactly what I want you to get out of the experience."
Yeah.
If you went through this whole process with me and didn't know what was going on, didn't know strategies to modify things or change things to, like, help with your symptoms, and, like, I failed you. Like,
Right.
I want you to have this be a really educational experience, not just like your sterile white coat medical encounter where it's super dry, like there's not much connection. Like, no, I'm genuinely trying to get to know you so that way I can teach you these things. So that way you're not reliant on me for the rest of your life. Like, if you want to be working together with me, that's fine. Like, we can always do a performance, like, transition to more of a performance type program afterwards. And would love to continue working with you. But if you're looking to kind of go back to what you were doing previously, like, I need to make sure I'm giving you the strategies and educational tools for you to tackle it on your own.
Trying to be I always tell Bruno, trying to be like Hinge, the app designed to be deleted, right?
Exactly.
I forgot about that one. That's good. The it's definitely equal parts. Like you can give someone the perfect program, but if they don't do it, well, it's not the perfect program. So like having a reason for them to do it, and it's almost like I don't want to say gamify it, but it's they know that you're gonna know if something gets done or not. So at first, the accountability is like, hey, I don't want to let Joey down, but then like after that, then like they build that habit. Once that habit's built, then they're like, hey, I don't want to let myself down. Like I've been on such a hot streak. That's gonna be what takes them past the point of like a rehab protocol.
Exactly. And I'm always trying to do my best to tie it back to their main goal versus, like, your typical clinics, like, you're probably just getting a printed out sheet of paper, do these exercises for knee pain. And then they're like, they'll do them, but they have no idea, like, why they're doing them, what it's for, how it's going to help them. So I always try to, explain, like, this is what I'm thinking game plan wise, because I think it's going to help you get back to XYZ. So if you
Yeah.
can relate it back to their goal, like, I feel like that automatically raises the buy-in because, like, it shows you've actively listened to them
Mhm.
and it shows that you're strategizing exercise or a plan that actually helps them get back to what they want to do versus that printed out sheet. Like, okay, do these 3 times a week. Like, they're not going to care as much because it's not linked to any sort of goal that's meaningful to them. So I'm always trying to link it back to something that's meaningful or that they've mentioned to me on a discovery or an eval. So that way I can try to get them to understand, like, we're actually working towards this goal. It's not just a sheet of random exercises to try to do.
The dreaded sheet. So how do you get people in the right mindset when you're having those conversations where people are very focused on just pain, right? Say, hey, my low back hurts. Say, okay, what are your goals? What do you want to do after that? I just want to get out of pain. Say, I understand. What's next? Like, let's say we can erase pain magically, wave our magic wand. Like, what are things that you'd be doing that you're not doing right now? Like, those are some of the questions, like style questions that I usually ask to help get people out of that like pain mindset and more into an outcome mindset, because that's when it's really worth investing your time, money, effort, and energy into doing something, because it's not just pain relief. It's so much more to it. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I definitely try to get into that in the discovery, and I kind of look at like a macro and a micro, or sorry, a micro first and then a macro.
No way. No way.
You know what I mean? But basically, like, getting into that, what you talked about, like, I just want to get out of pain. I just want to get back to the gym. So I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, let's say we do tackle X, Y, Z, and you're back to doing, what you want to do. Like, what does life look like for you? Basically, I want to get to that big picture of like, okay, if we tackle this, like, are you doing something now that you weren't able to do previously? Are you introducing something physically that you've always wanted to do that you weren't able to do? So I always want to get a little more than just the zoomed in version, because I feel like there's always something that they're either forget about or hadn't thought about, or they just don't tell you in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Like, definitely try to, yeah. So I definitely try to harp on that. Like, okay, that's great. Like, our goal would be to tackle this, more micro thing, but let's zoom out. Like, once we do this, like, how does that help you? Like, being pain-free is one thing, but how does being pain-free actually impact your life in a positive way? So I'm always trying to get into that side of them because one, if they're saying it, that kind of helps them sell themselves into working with you, because they're basically speaking it into existence.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Now, I know we haven't really talked about it yet, but I know you have your own. So you have your own business, but also you have you go around the country and might teach a course. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was actually about to prep this up.
Yeah, so
I beat you to it.
Yeah.
This basically started in residency. I had a residency project that I had to give a presentation to the staff. So it was a topic of choice, and I chose athletic low back pain because I had the shittiest experience as a patient. Your typical, like we talked about before, hot pack, stim, stretching. And like, I played Division I baseball, so I was rehabbing with them over the summer. And like, of course, things felt okay at the time, because like I was basically getting babysat to rest, right? But when you actually get back to a demanding Division I schedule of practice and lifting and stuff, like, no surprise, shit came back right away, because I wasn't prepared in any physical capacity or mental capacity whatsoever. So I basically built a course around trying to teach other providers that there's a much better way to do this, and to prevent other athletes from ending up in the shitty situation that I ended up in, because it wound up costing me a lot of time, money, stress, frustration. And it just led to me not feeling confident and mentally able to perform in the gym or on the field anymore. So it was one of the pieces that led to me just stopping playing, when that could have just been nipped in the bud, like, if I had just gotten the right instruction from the very beginning. So it developed into that lecture, and then that lecture developed into giving a small mini lecture to my buddy's PT program. And then we're like, hey, we have something here with the feedback we've been getting. Should we just like go all in and build out a course? So that's what we did. And we did our first course this past April, like had 20 plus people, then did 4 more that year. And we'll probably have close to 100 people take the course so far. And like, the feedback has been awesome. So we've got several lined up for 2026. We'll be headed to Jersey real soon in April.
I'll be out, baby. Let's go.
And then in addition to that, it's also kind of spread into like clinical mentoring. We've had a lot of younger clinicians reach out to us for mentorship. So we have kind of a structured mentorship program, more individualized. Our goal in the next year would be kind of a cohort type curriculum based one for those that are seeking that. And then just a variety of like online resources, downloadables, subscriptions that clinicians can subscribe to for like weekly educational content, clinical growth and development, because kind of like we talked about, I feel like healthcare is in the basement. And like, if you just do things that are slightly above average, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of the average person, which is sad to say and unfortunate. But I feel like it doesn't take much to be above average. So we want to try to give as much resources and things to clinicians to really get them to a good place clinically to where they can treat who they want, get what they want career wise, and be able to serve who they want to serve confidently. So it's really grown pretty quickly in the last year. So it's been exciting to see because I feel fulfilled because I can treat in my own practice. Like I still want to treat patients and I get to dip my toes in some like the mentorship and teaching. So I feel like I get fulfillment in a lot of different buckets. I can never just picture myself only treating, 40 plus hours a week. Like I want to be able to do other things. And that's given me a couple different avenues to continue to grow and develop outside of just treating patients. So it's been a good learning experience and kind of something we ran into. It just kind of happened.
Really cool. No, that's like stuff I want to do. I actually give presentations. I don't give like stuff that you're doing, but I give presentations on the athletic training side. I don't know. I worked college baseball as an athletic trainer for 5 years. So I always kind of, I typically talked about, like, I would talk about damaged goods all the time, where I would get a kid coming in, whether it'd be like the coaches didn't know that they had the pain or anything that was going on. And then it'd be like, oh, yep. And he tried ramping up as a freshman and it's like instantaneous Tommy John. Like it happened all the time.
And those kids are not going to tell their coach because they're a freshman. They want to get playing time. They might be on scholarship. There's a lot of situations that I can understand why they're not communicating.
And I would even as an athletic trainer, I would screen every person coming in. And you have my whole baseball specific screen and whatnot. And I vividly remember you all tell that people not tell you everything. Did it all. Got any previous history? No, but I've been all good. 1 month in, he goes, oh yeah, I subluxed my shoulder. Oh, by the way, yeah, I did that like 3 times in high school. Yeah, we know I'm gonna go get surgery now. I'm like, and like he also not even just talked to me, he talks to like our sports med docs and just like refused to say anything until he saw it. So it's really, really cool culmination of all that. But yeah, no, that education stuff's cool. Like it's awesome to see what you're doing on that side.
One last story before we wrap everything up. I had a similar experience at soccer. We're in Mexico and it's maybe like 2 days before the game. And you're always like, they track so much data and stuff. And we had this one kid who's a captain at the time come in, usually never has anything going on. It's always just like, we do like a lot of like recovery modalities and stuff to make sure you're feeling good for game day. I'm like, how you feeling? And he literally goes like this. He looks at me, like looks around the room. He's like, who's asking? I'm like, hey, you're a healthcare provider. He's like, so you're not going to tell coach? I'm like, do I need to? What's going on? He's like, no, I'm just like super gassed. Like training was hard the past couple of days. And I'm like, dude, this is important information because if you go out there super gassed and you try to push it, and with your injury history, like you're just like setting yourself up for risk. Like we have to have that conversation if like you're going to be in the game or like limited minutes or whatever. But he was like so scared to say anything to me because he knows that like I actually will communicate with his coach. And it's like, I'm not here to rat you out, dude. Like I'm here to protect you. Like it's a safety thing. It's not like I want to bench you. It's crazy.
Right. We're their advocate. We're not their adversary, really.
Really?
Yeah, that's a good one.
This kind of came right off the wall.
Right now.
Natural.
Well, yeah, like we're obviously just looking out for their best interest. Like
yeah.
I have no, ties into like your scholarship situation or whatever, or playing time. I'm just literally trying to keep you healthy.
That is our priority, right?
Exactly.
If you choose to take that risk and step on the field and then like you tear your ACL, like I'm going to be the one rehabbing you. So like, I don't want to see that happen to you. So that's why we're having this conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Great episode. Mikey, do you think we should let Joey take us out?
Yeah. I don't even
I
know.
don't know if you listen to the podcast, but at the
Probably
end
not.
of every podcast, you have to just give us the loudest go full fix yourself. So give it to us, and we'll end the podcast.
Yeah, all right. Appreciate you guys having me on, and for everybody listening, make sure you go fix yourself.